I want to remind everyone that celebration of being Filipino does not end here today. We got to carry that everywhere we go. We got to carry that throughout the year.
Spark, Connect, and Empower is a movement born in San Francisco to engender love and passion for Filipino heritage and culture among Filipino Americans. In the process, connecting them and empowering them as individuals and collectively as a community.
Pinoy ako! Proud ako! Pinoy ako! Proud ako! Pinoy ako! Proud ako! Pinoy ako! Proud ako! Spark, connect, empower, Pinoy 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 ako! Listen, Phil, I'm to the next generation. Millennials, you are the future of the nation. Embrace your past, be proud of who you are. Spark, ignite your pride and curiosity. With one another and with your ancestry. Empower, be the forefront of the community. Be proud of who you are. Pinay ako, taas noo, ang mamalaki ko sa buong mundo. Pinoy ako, I'm proud ako. I'm proud to be who I am. I'm proud to be a Pinoy. Pinoy ako, proud ako. Be proud of your race and your identity. Be vanguards of your culture and heritage you'll see. Come and belong, stand tall, then you'll know. It's fun, oh so fun to be a Filipino. But diverse, we are many but united. Be proud, shout it out and show we're not divided. Behold the Filipino spirit that's in you. Inay ako, taas noo, mamalaki ko sa buong mundo. Pinoy ako, at proud ako. I'm proud to be who I am. I'm proud to be a Pinoy. Pinoy ako, proud ako. All it takes is a spark to connect and empower nation building beyond the borders. Come and celebrate who we are. Pinay ako, taas noo, pagmamalaki ko sa buong mundo. Pinoy ako, at proud ako. I'm proud to be who I am. Yes! Pinay ako, taas noo, pagmamalaki ko sa buong mundo. Pinoy ako, at proud ako. I'm proud to be who I am. I'm proud to be a Pinoy. I'm proud to be who I am. Yes, I'm proud. I'm proud to be who I am. Sure, I'm proud. I'm proud to be who I am. I'm proud to be a Pinoy. Pinoy ako! Proud ako!
Magandang umaga po sa inyo mga kababayan. Miyerkules na naman po at nandito na naman po tayo sa ating programang Tanong ni CONGEN. No? So I'm Henry Bensurto po. I'm the Consul General of the Philippines here based in San Francisco, but I also cover 9 other states. And we're very lucky to have a special guest today who will talk about certain practical matters on economic aspect, business practical aspect of things, especially in the context of the pandemic. Of course, we're all focused in terms of the virus and its impact, but at the same time, it gives us also opportunities. As they say, when there are challenges like this, risk, those challenges and risks are actually can be converted into opportunities. And I think for today, that opportunity will be told to us directly from a person who has in-depth experience in terms of doing practical business, no? In the startup, and how I think she will be able to tell us essentially what are the opportunities also in this pandemic, that life has to go on, and we should uh, still continue. While we are concerned about our current situation, we must not lose sight of the possibilities beyond, because as they say, life will continue, no? And for today, we're very happy to have Mel Nava, who will tell us about One Export and what it does, and what are the opportunities available to all of us. And so maybe I can would like to welcome Mel. By the way, Mel is based in the Philippines, so this is a conversation across the Pacific, no? So we're happy, Mel. Magandang umaga sa iyo.
Magandang umaga, CONGEN.
Maybe Mel, just to start lang, maybe you can tell us muna something about yourself, no?
Okay, so hello, CONGEN. I'm Mel. So I'm the CEO and co-founder of One Export. And One Export is a one-stop end-to-end platform helping MSMEs in the Philippines with their exporting needs. But the reason why I started this with my other co-founders was because I have experience in exporting. No, so prior to starting One Export, I actually was exporting noodles and biscuits in different parts of the United States, Europe, and Asia. And I realized like ang daming mga MSMEs that want to export pero they don't know how, or they don't know how to go about it, right? And it was a passion project that became sort of like a life mission, because not only did we want to help MSMEs, we also wanted to make Philippine products accessible to overseas Filipinos and hopefully in the mainstream market. So I am, glad to be joined by a team of 15 committed individuals to exporting in the Philippines. We are millennials and younger, and so our life mission is to be able to make exporting easy for the Philippines. We'd like to see the Philippines become an export country, because of course the major export countries like the US, Japan, we've seen them succeed because of exporting, and we'd like the same to happen to the Philippines. And so that's really who we are and who I am, at least. No, we are very passionate about exporting, and we're really happy to be here. So thank you for having me, sir.
Wow, thank you, Mel, for that, no? And you mentioned you're working on the export side, so meaning products coming from the Philippines. Hopefully, you'll be able to access the market here, no? And you're there to help SMEs, and that's good, because this is what economics is all about, to help especially those people, no? But when you are exporting, uh, basically you're trying to help the industry back home in the Philippines. What is it for Filipino Americans who are here? I suppose when you're exporting, it's not one way, no? And you need also not just the system to facilitate that, but you need also contact people here. And will there be also opportunities for Filipino Americans based especially here in San Francisco or in the West Coast to avail of your services and look at this as a possible entrepreneurial endeavor for them as
Yeah,
well?
absolutely. So, Conjan, I'm sure like you have a lot of overseas Filipinos here that miss home. And for example, if they visited the Philippines, a lot of them have been looking for certain products that may not be available in San Francisco or in your regular Asian store, right? So, one way that we encourage entrepreneurship is for them to take on a certain stock of products. It doesn't have to be a container, which normally is the case, no, if you want to distribute a product. Kahit 10 cases, 20 cases of assorted products, they can take. Of course, these products are enough to store in a garage or in an apartment, right? And they can start selling online, no? So this may be through Amazon, eBay, Etsy, or Shopify. And one export also helps these overseas Filipinos become equipped digitally. So we teach them how to set up their eBay store or Shopify store, and we'd be able to help them either get more likes or more views or even more purchases by teaching them, for example, the nuances of e-commerce. So we hope to, of course, do it. This is two-way. First would be to help our MSMEs be able to export even in smaller quantities, but also hopefully get Philippine products in the mainstream market. Because, for example, if you look at eBay and you search for Philippine products, very little yung selection, di ba? And you have a lot of micro, small, and medium enterprises here in the Philippines na want to get that shot also at exporting. They want to be able to export. They just need like somebody to believe in them. And normally, these people are overseas Filipinos that have come to the Philippines, wanted certain products, right? But cannot find these products abroad. So it's something that we find an opportunity for, right?
Great. So first doon muna sa mga exporters natin na SMEs back home. No? So do they need to have a partner here or they can do away with that?
Okay, so for the SMEs back home, what we do kasi is we make sure before we actually ship out that they are US ready, no? Of course, if part of exporting, diba? When you say a product is export ready, or like, how Lay's or Doritos, they normally have like an export stamp to their products, no? It means that they're of the highest quality, right? So part of what we do is to make sure that the SMEs comply with US regulations. So this is in terms of getting the proper documentation, so US FDA or any certain documentation needed for exporting to the US. But also, we also help them in terms of labeling. So for food products, they're very strict with, for example, food coloring or, how allergens are declared, for example. So those are things that we take into account, and we make sure that overseas Filipinos, we make sure that small and medium enterprises are able to comply, no? When it comes to finding a partner, of course, like you need somebody to purchase the goods, right? So what we do is to simplify the process, kasi we don't naman want our overseas Filipinos. Of course, honestly, being in San Francisco is already a huge advantage. Being in the United States is a huge advantage, just because if you want to start a business, you actually have a lot of incentives. They support small businesses. The government of California, I know, supports small businesses and even gives incentives. In some ways, it's very nakakainggit, parang because we don't have the same opportunities in the Philippines, right? If you want a bank loan, for example, it takes a long time before you get one, right? What we are looking at is, overseas Filipinos to start their own small business, right? In the form of importing products that you will not normally find, right? And we were looking at overseas small and medium businesses to partner with overseas Filipinos to be able to make this sale happen or make the export or the trade happen.
So going back to that, you make this a possibility, a reality, no?
Yes.
In concrete ways, how do you do that? So let's say, pasensya ka na, but let's start, for example, on a practical level. You have an exporter back home, not a big business, as you mentioned. Ito yung mga SMEs who dreams big and looks forward to reaching out and exporting sa San Francisco. Uh, how exactly will they do this, and how your intervention will be exactly in that respect? Number one, do you find partners for them? Do you brief them as to what to expect? Do you do also mix and matching? Do you do the logistics, the entirety of the logistics of doing this? Or do you also find partners for them? I mean, these are practical layman's questions, but I think people would like to ask that. Mel?
Okay, so what we do is we normally start with the supplier or the MSME, micro, small, and medium enterprise. Normally, they have aspirations to export, right? We normally ask them like what their targets are and then their minimum order quantities. Normally, a micro, small, or medium enterprise can only supply so much, right? So they normally would like to start small because, I mean, they're also starting themselves or they're also figuring out this process themselves. So one way we go about this is we check first, we do an assessment on our website, oneexport.net. We do an assessment of what their products are and where they want to export and what are their objectives down the line, right? So we sort of do like a profiling. And then normally if they tell us, we want to export to the US, we want to export in, for example, Asian stores or this, we want to target overseas Filipinos. What happens is that we after that, we look for partners for them, no? So if they tell us they want to look for overseas Filipinos, we look for potential partners for them that are interested in the products. Kasi hindi naman lahat ng tao, normally, when you start a business, and for example, I start a business, I also look at what do I like? What do I like to sell? Or what do I like to buy? What do I think will sell, right? So we look for partners for them and then sort of match them in a way na what the objective of the micro, small, or medium enterprise, we matched it with the objective or the interest of the overseas Filipino. So for example, we've had overseas Filipinos that are interested in food. So we match them with particular food products. For example, they're interested in traditional food, Filipino food. So you match them with traditional Filipino food. Some of them are interested in makeup. So we match them with makeup. So this whole process really takes a while because we don't want to force, these are our products, these are the products that we can sell and then sell them, right? This is not like a idea, this is not like an a catalog from, for example, your favorite brand, and then like you sell this lang. No? So we normally give the overseas Filipino, on the other hand, the free will, and we want them to think about what business they want to build. So we've had inquiries na, for example, they just want to do cacao. So, for example, some of them want to do furniture. For example, some of them want to do handicrafts or mga bags. So these are things that we sort of match. And then from there, we understand, where do they want to bring the products, right? Where do they want to bring the products? How do they want to sell it? And then offer solutions on both ends. So before we sell, we make a match and then make sure that this is the expectation of the small and medium enterprise, and this is the expectation of the overseas Filipino. And then we align them, and then we say, okay, this is a match, meaning we can proceed with an order. So when we proceed with an order, we make, before we produce, we make sure that documents and labels, ingredients, up to the nitty-gritty detail for the compliances are well complied with. So we make sure talaga that everything should be accepted in the US. So for example, you have Philippine products here that are meat. We do not accept meat because in the US, bawal ang Philippine meat, right? So those things we already screen before we even make a match. And once we look at the products, and if there are certain ingredients that do not comply, we already make sure na hindi na siya tutuloy, 'di ba? So say the compliance part is already okay, we proceed with an order where the overseas Filipino orders or confirms that these are the products that they want to bring in. And then we tell them, like a normal balikbayan box, we tell them that, the shipping is going to take long. The reason why we decided to go with this model versus like shipping out directly na parang DHL, di ba? DHL kasi is expensive. Sometimes the shipping to DHL is a little more expensive, or DHL or any air freight forwarder is more expensive than the goods itself. Now, if you want to do e-commerce, that could be a turn off Na, 'di ba? Like even in the Philippines, for example, if you buy the product but you find out that shipping the product is half the price of the cost of the goods, you already get turned off, right? And I believe that's the thing, that's the thing that e-commerce like Amazon has sort of started to deal with, no? So and it's something that we're trying to simplify so that it'll be easy for the overseas Filipino to import.
So when you say you try to simplify it, do you also do the legwork aside from providing information? So I can see that you provide analysis, risk analysis, etc. But do you also include in terms of this process the legwork, for example, of actually doing smoothing things for the exporter by doing all the legwork in terms of finding the cheapest shipment
Yes.
that you can do, and having all the papers necessary documentation for the exporter. So do you do all of those?
Yes, we do all of those, sir. We do the documentation, we do the labeling, we do the shipping. We even do the shipping to the house or to the warehouse of the reseller. So we make it as that simple, and then all they have to do is pay a straight out fee. So yeah.
So all that the exporter will do is approach one export. I want to do this, and you will do everything for.
Yes. Even for the overseas Filipino, we try to simplify the process so they don't have to go to every single, for example, dried fish that is available in the Philippines. So we try to simplify it already.
So, for example, you also help. Well, you mentioned on the export side. No? What about Filipino Americans here who thought of bringing goods in the Philippines, like patis, etc.? I'm just giving an example that they miss. And they want to go into importation also of Filipino products. Do you also help them in that respect?
Yes, we help them in that respect in the sense that if the overseas Filipino, if the overseas Filipino wants to import certain goods, we make sure that they're export ready. And then should they need any help in terms of shipping the products to their house, or to their warehouse, we make sure that that happens. So that it's not going to be very difficult when they get the products. So it's almost like a reverse balikbayan box where all you have to do is wait for the products to get to your doorstep.
Okay. So I think that's nice to hear, because I'm sure there are Filipino businessmen here who also wants to do business here and who needs a partner as well from the Philippines to be the supplier, no? And you facilitate the process.
Yes.
Okay. That's great. So in a sense, how do you see your work now and the work of One Export? Do you see it more relevant now with the pandemic, or you're at your best when there is no pandemic? Are you able to cope with the pandemic and still make this operation possible? How do you do that?
Yeah, so well, during the pandemic, we actually grew. I think it's because of the supply chain disruptions, no? So because people cannot go to the States as they would like to, right? They would rather ship out certain products to their loved ones, or ship. I mean, we saw a surge in demand for essential goods. And so we were really trying to tap into that, no, because aside from the fact that of course you have the pandemic and the rise in e-commerce marketplaces, but the opportunity we found also was because a lot of people are losing their jobs abroad. um, so a lot of people are getting furloughed or laid off, but these overseas Filipino have savings, for example. So a lot of the trends that have been relevant would be yun nga, starting your own business in terms of entrepreneurship, but also because, for example, Amazon cannot deliver next day. Nauso yung parang community selling or social commerce, right? Buying from your friends or people that you know. So it's something that we'd like to, it's a trend we'd like to take advantage of, especially because, we'd like to help people like in the Philippines where or where small and medium enterprises have been greatly affected by the pandemic, meaning their demand is down. We'd like to help increase their demand, but also take advantage of certain trends that have occurred because of the pandemic, like social commerce or mga community selling or yun nga, parang making your own Amazon or eBay or distribution center, right? But also like making sure that it's grounded on the fact that you really wanted to start a business and it's a business you'd like to grow and see moving forward.
For potential exporters or importers on both sides of the Pacific, do they have to be a member of one export to avail your services, or is there such a membership so that they can avail of whatever you offer, or this can be on a case-to-case transactions, basically?
All they have to do is log on. So our overseas, so our immigrant distribution network, or our parang reverse balikbayan box model is called Caravan. Actually, all they have to do is register on our Caravan website. So it's www.oneexport.net, and then you just click on the Caravan site where it'll lead you to the Caravan website, and they just have to sign up. There's no commitment initially because what we'd like to do is to assess the overseas Filipino first before committing to purchase any product. And we'd like to make sure that this whole process is really well intended and well thought of. So we don't normally ask them to pay upfront first at any point. We'd like to assess where they like to bring, and then from there we do sort of like a consultation, and parang and after that present to them, maybe these are the products that you should carry, and then teach them how to set up their own e-commerce. So it's sort of like a process where we really handhold not just the supplier or the MSME here in the Philippines, but we also handhold the reseller to become successful in importing the products.
So in a sense, you must have a huge database to help people make their decision, because not all exporters know what they want to export. Some
Yeah.
gusto lang nila mag-export, but they don't know what
Yes,
exactly
yes.
to so you also help in that respect, no?
Yes. We help both sides, the exporter, also the overseas Filipino, para nga like hindi like we don't want anybody to lose money, because of course like the investment for Caravan is something like $1,500. It's enough for you to have enough stock, say in it for 60 days if you were to sell on Amazon and you were to sell successfully, right? So we really go through a curated process, and we really handhold not just our MSMEs here in the Philippines, but also our overseas Filipinos, so that they can sell successfully in the US market.
So you can give ideas even for people who may not be interested in importing but have vague ideas. Then they can access and come to you, and perhaps they develop the model, no, appropriate
Yes.
to them. Great. You also mentioned Caravan. Can you tell us more about this Caravan? What exactly is this Caravan that you mentioned?
Okay, so caravan kasi sir is like as mentioned, it's a, sort of like our reverse balikbayan box model where we bring MSME products to the doorstep of overseas Filipinos who want to start a business. So basically, it's sort of the step before. It's sort of like an AliExpress, no? So an AliExpress is sort of like if you want to ship out products from China, you go through AliExpress and then it goes to your doorstep. So we're sort of like that. Caravan is sort of the AliExpress for products in the Philippines. And we target nga overseas Filipinos so that we are able to bring export ready and commercially viable products so that overseas Filipinos can sell successfully in the United States. So caravan comes from parang kariton. It's like, 'di ba, yung kariton na may kalabaw na maraming binebenta. That was how we got it. Yun.
Nice, nice. Of course, I remember those in my childhood, no? From the north descending to the south, selling stuff, no? Like yung mga duyan. Nice. That's a nice way of putting it. It's very. I'm glad you mentioned that because it gives me a picture exactly what you're trying to do with your caravan. So, and I understand you also have a presentation in the caravan, no? So
Yes, sir.
maybe we can show that. Uh, that nice video or presentation you made on the caravan for people to understand more what this caravan is all about.
If you've ever considered exporting, you might know just how complicated it can be, especially for a small company. There's just too many requirements, too many risks, and it's just too expensive. But it doesn't have to be. One export's mission is to break the barriers of the exporting industry by providing businesses new opportunities that enable them to build a well-established presence in the international market. One Export has helped micro, small, and medium enterprises in the Philippines get their documents in order and become export compliant. We service a variety of documents for you to choose from. Just choose which documents you need and click on Request. Once your documents have been processed, we can also help you find buyers abroad through our online catalog. Every product in our catalog has been personally vetted by our team to be export ready, so our buyers and suppliers don't need to worry about getting products stuck in customs. Just fill in the details of your products. And lastly, to make sure your products are ready to be exported, we offer to relabel and translate your products to meet the importing country's regulations and standards. You can take a picture of your product's label and upload it to the website. Or you can fill in the necessary information. Need a translation? Just click on this drop-down menu and choose one of the languages we offer. It will then automatically generate a label for you. And that's it. Simple and straightforward. To become one of our suppliers, all you have to do is register for free at oneexport.net. Don't forget to review our terms and conditions and subscribe to our newsletter to get any updates, discounts, and promotions. A customer service representative will then be calling to validate your registration and see how we can help you and your business further. Because at One Export, we help businesses go global.
Okay, Mel, merong ano, but how do you reach out now to the, because yung mga, well, hopefully there many are listening to us and therefore will pick up on this, no? But outside of that, how do you reach out to the SMEs and the medium scale entrepreneurs? How do you do this?
Okay, so for the small and medium enterprises who are like exporters in the Philippines. We actually work with the DTI Export Marketing Bureau. And yun nga, because they also have the same thrust of trying to get more MSMEs to export. Unfortunately, syempre, parang the big retailers or wholesalers will only get what is popular. And so that's why we are banking on overseas Filipinos to invest in MSMEs in the Philippines by importing their products, or at the same time export MSMEs exporting to them, so that we can export more of the products. So currently we work with DTI EMB, but also like we have, for example, our own webinars on basics of exporting, where we teach them how to export. We also have our own Facebook ads and initiatives to get overseas like small and medium businesses to join One Export.
Great. I'm glad you mentioned your partnership with DTI, because credibility and integrity of a company or corporation is, I think, very important. Which leads me to the question: how, aside from that, how do potential exporters or businessmen, entrepreneurs, how do they know that you're not a scam?
Well, we have been registered. We've been registered for 4 years now. So we're a business that's been registered for 4 years now, and we really export. No, so we export in the U.S., Australia, Singapore, Taiwan, Kuwait, Qatar. We are also trying to enter Dubai. So we export in all different sorts of markets. And we've exported successfully. So meaning our products are not held in customs. They actually go through, right? So we have a certain level of expertise. We currently help about 350 micro, small, and medium enterprises getting their documents ready, up to shipping their products out, finding them buyers, right? And so that's how we sort of like have established our credibility over the years. But I think more than anything, it's really because like we want to be able to help exporting, and so that's why on top of the work that we do, we really do a lot of the information campaign. We go out of our way to really understand every single product, so that just so we can export, right? That's really our objective. So that's how we currently do it. But also like we are very upfront and straightforward. So parang we don't, unless we know that you're going to be able to sell the product, or unless we know that there will be a market, unless we know that we're going to be able to help you, we don't normally take people's money upfront, right? You don't so there's really a process of vetting, of understanding the market or the business that you want to enter before we actually commit. But there's a lot of work already invested in us on your end. So parang if people tell us, like an overseas Filipino, for example, they tell us they want to import furniture, we go to every furniture shop in the Philippines, and then we check which ones are already exporting, what are the documents that they already have before we actually export, before we tell the importer, possible importer, overseas Filipino, you should get this product, right? So there's a lot of vetting on our end. And we don't take money upfront. We take it eventually when we know that there would be an assurance also to be able to sell. So that's how we sort of do it, really.
Yeah. That's great. And as you mentioned, you partner with DTI, no? So I think that fact alone suggests your credibility and integrity, So, but Mel, based on your experience, you've been into this business for the last 4 years, and even before that, you had tremendous extensive experience already, Uh, I'm interested to know your thoughts in terms of Philippine-US relations. Is there a lot of potential still for Filipino exporters, or do you think that the market is already saturated, or not yet, or untapped, still untapped, and with a lot of potentials? What basically is your assessment, given your exposure and your experience? Is the U.S. still a market for Philippine exporters, especially the SMEs, should try and explore?
I feel like the market is still, there's still a lot of things to grow, right? First, number one, Filipinos are the third immigrant after India and China, right? That is immigrating to the United States. Now, the scale of India and China, they're at least a billion in terms of population, right? But the Philippines is like 1/10 of that, and then you're number three, right? The difference between China and the Philippines is 200,000, right? But you have a lot more Filipinos in terms of percentage trying to go to the US, right? Second, I think the Filipinos that are in the United States, a lot of them are first generation Filipinos. And you also have the second generation Filipinos that are sort of trying to find their identity. Like, you know, they are Filipinos, but they don't know a lot about their culture, right? And so introducing Philippine products to them is something that, you know, is something that is promising, because that also means that you capture not just a particular market. You can actually capture more than what is currently being targeted. And third, I feel like while the Philippines is starting to gain traction in the mainstream market, there still has there's still a lot of things that has to be done. The same way that sriracha is a known hot sauce in the mainstream market, right? In the same way that Kikoman is the known soy sauce, like how sushi and other Japanese cuisines are known, right? Philippine products are still trying to make it out there despite the population, right? Because we like Filipinos tend to like cook for themselves or cook for their loved ones, right? But there's still a lot of things that have to, like if you look at the products that are popular from the Philippines, it's Philippine mangoes and coconut oil, right? But you know that we have a lot of products. We have a lot of good snack products. We have a lot of ube is starting to make, or of course purple yam is starting to make its entry, but it's also starting to look like a trend, not a staple, right? So there are a lot of things that we still need to work on to make Philippines a mainstream product. There are a lot of products that we can particularly identify with, right? Like for example, kasi like a virgin coconut oil, marami ka ng kalaban. You have Sri Lanka, you have Thailand, right? It's not just the Philippines, diba? So there are a lot of products that can still make it out there, and who knows, one of our overseas Filipinos who are watching could possibly be bringing that product, right, and make a big business out of that eventually. My belief is a lot of the big distributors or retailers, they started small, right, and this is the hope that we'd like for our overseas Filipinos that are based there.
That's good to know, no? How you're helping them. Mel, do you have any message for our overseas Filipinos who wanted to give back home, to their, not only to their families but to the country of their origin, the Philippines? Do you have any thoughts on that, and any message for them who would like to give back and help their families back home?
Okay, so yeah, like well, my message would be, if there's one thing, I've always believed in export, no, but that's me, no. I believed it because if you want to, it's like this: if you want to improve a country, right, one way is to really improve the economy, right? No matter how good we are abroad, if your country back home is a third world country, there will still be some sort of discrimination that, you know, you come from a third world country. But if you constantly try to improve, your country by, for example, one way is to be able to export, you are able to contribute to that growth, and you're able to contribute to the growth of the economy. I've always believed in that. And so there are a lot of micro, small, and medium enterprises, especially during the time of the pandemic, that need support. And they're not the type of people who will beg for money. We've worked with them and we've seen how hard they work to make their business what it is, right? One way to be able to help them is to import their products, right? And the advantage of importing Philippine MSME products is versus other investments, and I don't mean to put down any other investment. But real estate, for example, it's going to take a while before you realize that. Franchising, for example, it's going to take a couple of years before you realize that. But if you import products, you actually bring the products to you, you sell them, and in a matter of X number of days, you'll be able to sell them and realize the return on your investment, right? So invest in MSMEs, invest in the Philippines, and it will come back to you tenfold. These MSMEs are the most hardworking people we've seen, and all they want is a shot to be able to export. And I hope that you'll be able to support them.
Thank you. That's very nice. Mel, in terms of products, specific products, given your experience in the last 4 years, what products you think, from the perspective of the SMEs, have the most potential?
Well, potential depends on what are the current trends, of course, and what are the current, I mean, of course, given the coronavirus, what are the essentials? So what essential businesses there are? I believe with the coronavirus, and we're talking about the current pandemic, a lot of people are working from home. So a lot of people are starting to renovate their homes. So SMEs that have potential would probably be home products, home furniture, I would suggest. And of course, every single overseas Filipino has their own idea of what's nice and what's sellable. So we'll be able to cater to that if depending on design and material, right? So we have a lot of material, we have a lot of raw materials, we have a lot of great designers in the Philippines that are looking for a break because a lot of them have been affected greatly by this pandemic. Another trend that I would be looking at are what are the essential products, right? Of course, food is deemed essential. Health products are deemed essential, right? And so if you're able to import those products, it'll definitely sell in the market because a lot of people are looking for it, but it's not readily available. So I think these are the two trends, but also two things to take note of when importing products. So it's not just about the potential of the MSMEs. The MSMEs have a lot of potential, and once you give them a sale, they will make the most out of it. But it's more of like, what are the things that we can import right now, and what are the things that can make it in the market right now.
That's great. So Mel, we've come to the point where we have to close now, but I'm very interested. Do you have any final thoughts on this, Mel?
Well, my only advocacy is, like exporting, and I hope like our overseas Filipinos get enticed to import Philippine products. It doesn't have to be big. We can start small, and we're here to help you. And really, we hope that you support the MSMEs because it's really one way to be able to support and help the economy.
Mel, maybe for our listeners who wanted to find out something more about you, maybe you can give us, how do they reach you? How do they contact you?
All you have to do is go to our website, www.oneexport.net, and they can also go to our Facebook page and leave us a message, or they can also go to or email us at trade@oneexport.net. So we hope that they reach out to us. We consult for free, no? So we will go with them, handhold them until they get to the business that they want. We really don't choose anyone. Like we even cater to people who want to just drop ship. So even in smaller quantities, but right now, our goal is to really be able to help our MSMEs.
Wow. Thank you very much for your advocacy. Mel, I think you're not doing this for the for the money. You're
Yeah,
doing.
we're not doing this for them.
I know this is an advocacy that you firmly believe and you have the conviction. So we're very, that's very inspiring, actually. And please continue to inspire our people, and that they should, despite the pandemic, there is a future that they should look forward to. And as you mentioned, you've repeated this many times. You don't have to start big, actually. And I just remembered a professor of mine at one point did mention, if you start big, you're a monster, essentially. And small is beautiful. And I think I see the value of that message. So for that, Mel, we're very grateful. Please continue to inspire us. Obviously, with your talk today, a lot of our kababayans are inspired by your advocacy. So thank you very much, Mel, and we wish you all the best. And we will be keeping our mind and monitoring how you have progressed, because as you progress, that means our country is also progressing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Congen. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ang ating pong episode for today, related pa rin ho sa mga visa, no? At para masagot po ang ating mga katanungan, ating pong inimbitahan ang ating Deputy Consul General na si Raquel Solano. Ma'am, magandang umaga po sa inyo.
Magandang umaga po, Congen, at magandang umaga rin sa mga patuloy na nagsusubaybay sa ating programa na Tanong ni Congen.
Okay, so umpisahan ko na po, DCG Raquel, kung inyo pong mamarap natin. Meron po tayong mga katanungan dito, no, ngayong umaga. Ang una pong tanong nila ay, ngayong panahon ng pandemya, nag-i-issue pa rin ba ang ating mga embahada at konsulado ng visa sa mga dayuhan? At sino-sino lamang ang pwedeng mag-apply ng visa sa ngayon?
Patuloy pa rin po, Congen, na nag-i-issue ng visa ang ating mga embahada at konsulado sa iba't ibang bansa. Subalit nililimitahan po natin ang pag-issue ng visa sa mga iilan lamang na kategorya. At ito ang mga sumusunod. Una, yung foreign spouse, foreign parent of minor children, yung foreign children with special needs, at yung foreign partner ng Filipino national. So ang nag-uugnay sa kanila, ang lahat ay yung relationship nila sa Filipino national. So dapat related ang ating mga foreign national sa isang Filipino para sila ay may exempt dito sa temporary suspension of visa issuance. Meron din pong ibang kategorya na kasama din sa exempt categories. Yun po yung mga 9C visa holders, yung mga seafarers, at yung 9E, yung foreign government and international organization officials. So yun po yung mga pwede lamang na may issuean ng visa sa ngayon.
Balikan ko po yung unang sagot ninyo na importante yung relationship, at may narinig po ako sinabi niyo partner. Importante ho ba na yung relationship legal? For example, kung asawa, may legally and validly married sila, or enough na yung nobya lang or common law?
Kailangan pong ipakita nila yung proof o yung dokumento nagpapatunay ng kanilang relationship. So sa kaso po ng asawa, kailangan magpakita ng marriage contract. Kung yung yung bata, kailangan ipakita yung kanyang birth certificate. At saka dun sa partner po kasi, Congen, pwedeng nobya lang o basta kasintahan. Ang importante ay kung yung Filipino national ay buntis.
Okay. Linawin ko po yan. Pwedeng partner lang, nobya, na nabanggit ninyo. Pero, or nobyo, I suppose, pwede rin ho yan. Kasi, pwede ho rin yan, no?
Hindi po, sir. Kasi dapat lang ay nobya kasi ang condition is pregnant. Yung Filipino national.
Okay, so it's not enough na girlfriend lang, but it is also necessary na dapat yung girlfriend pregnant. Ganun po ba?
Opo, Congen. That's right.
Okay. So, hindi naman po sinasabing i-pregnant yung nobya, but in a sense, in recognition of the circumstances na meron po siyang nobya that is pregnant. Yun po yan. But I suppose we're not encouraging that. No? Okay, so ang number one rule po ninyo is that may relationship, and that the relationship must be legal. So hindi rin po lahat ng relationship may mga specified relationship po. Ang unang nabanggit niyo po, either dapat spouse, no? So dapat legally married. I suppose ang dapat ipakita nila dyan, marriage certificate po, no? Or sinabi niyo rin po yung relationship pagka parent or child. So in a sense, kailangan ipakita yung paternity relationship or filial relationship po. No? Tapos ang pangatlong category na nabanggit ninyo, outside of this legal relationship, ships, yung pong relationship ng may nobya or girlfriend, back in the Philippines po or together? I mean, accompanying po o papunta sa kanyang girlfriend sa Pilipinas?
Wala naman pong mini-mention sa particular na Foreign Service Circular. Ang importante lang po is ganun yung kondisyon para nga magkasama sila. But I suppose, para mapayagan yung foreign national ay at makapunta doon sa Pilipinas, kasi ang objective po niya is bisitahin. So I suppose dapat nandoon sa Pilipinas, pero I don't think na pagbabawalan din nila kung halimbawa magkasama sila. Kasi ang pakay naman is para matulungan o mabigyan ng suporta yung Filipino national na nobya ng isang foreign citizen.
Oh, okay. All right. So I think, thank you for that. So in a sense, binigay po ninyo yung rationale ng regulation na yan. Na despite that lack of legal relationship in terms of marriage, girlfriend siya, it has something to do with the emotional and whatever support necessary in that state or condition of the girl, no? So in a sense, it's yun yung rational, I suppose, perhaps taking into account yung condition ng girlfriend or nobya na nabanggit niya. So mabalik lang po ako dyan. So may dalawang condition po. The relationship of being a boyfriend to a Filipina, and number two, kailangan pregnant yung babae. So kailangan po present itong dalawang condition. No? Pag yung isang condition wala, hindi po pwede. Tama po ba yan?
Tama po, Consul.
Okay. Pero mabalik, pasensya na po kayo, himayin ko lang po ito. Kung ganun po, kasi yung relationship, dahil wala namang katibayan ng legal papers at hindi, this is something personal to the two of them, how do you prove po na girlfriend niya yun? Paano po ba malalaman yun na nobya nga niya yun? Does the foreigner, kailangan niya hubang magdala ng mga love letters or anything to prove that girlfriend relationship? And I suppose he also has to show proof na yung girl is pregnant. Kailangan po bang magpakita ng mga ganong ebidensya?
Kung dyan ang kailangan po nilang i-prove ay unang-una ay pregnant yung Filipino national doon sa foreign national na gustong pumunta doon sa atin o bumiyahe patungo ng Pilipinas. So kung sa mga dokumento, kailangan po nilang mag-present ng medical certificate, tapos yung affidavit ng foreign national na siya yung tatay ng unborn child. At kailangan din pong magpakita kung anumang dokumento, siguro kung may meron silang pwedeng maipakita na sila ay magkasintahan bago pa naman nagkaroon ng pandemic.
Okay. Okay, but as you mentioned, no, the rationale of the policy is not to encourage meant to make their girlfriends pregnant. I don't think that is the rationale behind the policy, but the rationale is it recognizes that there are certain conditions where the girl, for one reason or another, got pregnant and she needs all the support, from the boyfriend. So in recognition of that situation, they have made this accommodation to make sure that the Filipina is not alone in her journey, I suppose. So okay, but here, going back to this, pasensya na po kayo, how does he apply? Does he have to, yung foreigner po ba, kailangan kumuha muna ng visa, or pwede niya hutong patunayan na upon arrival, or kailangan pumunta muna siya sa konsulado at kumuha ng visa for him to be able to enter the Philippines, or he need na, or hindi niya na kailangan kumuha ng visa, he can go straight and upon arrival doon niya na ipoprove sa immigration? Ano po ang appropriate or proper procedure dito?
Kailangan pong kumuha muna sila ng visa sa konsulado o sa embahada na pinakamalapit sa kanila, o sa bansang kung saan sila ay tinuturing na legal residents. Kasi ang importante po is may hawak na silang visa bago pa sila tumungo doon sa atin, dahil wala namang ini-issue visa upon arrival sa ngayon sa mga ganoong kategorya ng foreign nationals.
Okay. So, importante ho yan. So bago ho rin sila lumipad ng Pilipinas, kailangan yung foreigner mag-apply muna ng appropriate visa sa malapit na Philippine consulate, at hindi yung basta na lang lilipad doon without the appropriate visa. And kayo naman po na nasa konsulado, meron na po kayong guidelines on this, kung ano yung mga hihingin ninyong proof from the foreigner boyfriend, and including the condition of the Philippine girlfriend. So I suppose yung isang magandang proof po dyan, yung medical certificate as to the pregnancy of the Filipina girlfriend. Tama po ba?
Tama po, Consul.
Okay, so just to repeat lang po, two conditions must exist together. One, they have to be able to prove their relationship as boyfriend, girlfriend, and second, that they may also be able to show proof na pregnant yung girl. Does it consider po kung anong stage ng pregnancy, or wala naman po at any stage of pregnancy?
Wala namang sinasabi kung anong stage ng pregnancy. Ang importante lang po ay mapakita niya na siya ay nagdadalang tao at ang tatay noon ay yung kanyang boyfriend na foreign national.
Okay. So, importante rin po yan. So, wala naman pong qualification. So, the only statement or requirement is pregnant. And that means at the early stage all the way to before the child is born, no? So obviously, pag pinanganak na yung bata, it's a different condition altogether. That means the foreigner will be able to enter and issue the visa, not because of that relationship, but to the girl, but paternal relationship to the child. Na pag pinanganak. Yun po. Okay, so thank you, DCG, on that. Let me jump to the next question. Ang mga balikbayan po ba ay maaring mag-apply at mabigyan ng visa patungong Pilipinas?
Maaari pong mag-apply ng visa ang mga balikbayan patungong Pilipinas kung sila po ay kasama doon sa mga nabanggit ko kanina, na kung sila ba ay foreign spouse, foreign parent of minor children, o foreign children with special needs, at partner ng isang Filipina national. So hindi po lahat ng balikbayan ay pwede mag-apply ng visa. Ang importante po ay sila ay kasama o kabilang doon sa mga kategoryang nabanggit ko kanina.
Okay. So yun po yung rule ngayon, no? So only in those situations na nabanggit ninyo can a balikbayan enter the Philippines. And but there's also, kailangan po rin ba nilang kumuha ng visa o enough na yung kanilang foreign passport?
Hindi po, kailangan po rin nilang kumuha ng visa sa mga embahada at konsulado. Actually, sa lahat pong nabanggit ko kanina ng kategorya, lahat ng tutungo na foreigner sa atin, kailangan nilang kumuha ng visas. Even po yung mga dati ay meron silang tinatawag na visa-free privilege. Ngayon ay nasuspinde rin po yun. So kahit sila ay kailangan pumunta ng konsulado, embahada para kumuha ng visa.
Okay, importante po yun. So in effect, in the past, yung mga American passport holder, regardless whether they're balikbayan or not, visa-free po, no? Before. But now, sabi niyo po, yung visa-free status ng American passport holders, I suppose not just American US passport holders, but for any visa-free entry nationals, including Canadian, for example, they have to get ng Philippine visa before they can enter.
That's right, CONGEN. That's correct.
And they can apply for the appropriate visa provided they fall into these conditions or situations you just mentioned, no? Yung relationship, either as a spouse, as a father, as a mother of a Filipino child, or children, minor children, who are accompanying or following their Filipino parents, no? Yan po yung mga conditions where visas will be issued. Outside of those conditions, hindi po sila may issuehan din ng visa. Parang ganun po, ano? Okay, sige. Thank you. So, ito po, DCG, ang US citizen ba na may anak sa kanyang nobyang Pilipino, pwedeng mag-apply at mabigyan ng visa?
Pwede po siyang mabigyan ng visa CONGEN. Kasi kung may anak na siya, kasama siya doon sa kategory na foreign parent of a minor Filipino child.
Okay. At ang basihan ng pag-issue ng visa sa kanya, yung relationship, hindi sa nobya, but relationship niya doon sa anak nila, na obviously is a Filipino by birth, na?
Tama po, CONGEN. Pero ang importante din po doon is dapat menor de edad yung bata. Kasi kung nasa hustong gulang na, kahit siya ay, yung foreigner ay may anak na Filipino, hindi na rin po siya qualified na mag-apply ng visa.
Okay. So, ibig sabihin, yung nabanggit niyo, minor, so below 18. So, pagka yung anak niya na Pilipino, 18 years old na, hindi niya na pwedeng gamitin yung relationship na yon as basis to apply for an appropriate visa to enter the Philippines, no?
Tama po.
Okay. Thank you po, DCG. Ito po, susunod na katanungan. Kung ako ay isang US citizen na nagbabalak bisitahin ang nobya kong Pilipina sa Pilipinas, kwalipikado ba akong mag-apply at mabigyan ng visa kahit wala pa kaming anak at nagdadalang tao pa lamang ang aking nobya? Anong mga dokumento ang pwede kong isumite para mapayagang tumungo sa Pilipinas?
Katulad po ng nabanggit natin kanina, CONGEN, kapag nagdadalang tao yung Filipina national, pwedeng bumiyahe at mag-apply muna ng visa yung foreign national. Kasi nga, kagaya ng napag-usapan kanina, ang importante po ay may form of support na maibibigay yung foreign national sa ating kababayan na Filipina. So kahit wala pa po silang anak, ang kondisyon ay dapat pregnant o nagdadalang tao ang isang Filipina national.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that, DCG. And kanina rin, nabanggit nyo rin yung mga dokumentong kailangan. No? So anything that will prove, in general, in principle, anything that will prove the relationship, love letters, etc., no? Yung correspondence. I suppose, but pagka-break na sila, hindi na pwede. Ganun po ba? But there's no way to find that out, right? So, okay. So, okay, DCG, let me go to the next question ng ating mga nakikinig. Maari din bang mag-apply at mabigyan ng visa ang isang US citizen na may mga anak na Pilipino, subalit ang mga ito ay nasa hustong gulang na? I suppose this was already answered kanina, no? But just to repeat, DCG, can you again remind us of the rule on this particular question?
Salamat, Congen. So, doon po, kapag nasa hustong gulang na yung Filipino national na anak ng isang foreign citizen, hindi na po pwedeng mag-apply, nag-visa ang kanyang magulang na foreigner kasi hindi na po minor de edad yung Filipino.
Paano po naman kung yung bata nasa hustong gulang na pero special child?
Kasama po siya doon sa nabanggit na mga exempted categories. Kung yung bata po ay may special needs, regardless of age, pwede rin pong mag-apply ng visa ang kanyang magulang o kaya yung bata mismo o yung special child.
So okay, so medyo linawin ko lang po yan. So normally, dapat yung bata minor para makapasok yung parents, no? Or para makapasok yung foreign. Unahin ko po muna yung bata, yung Pilipino. So kung unang-una, yung Pilipino na bata, minor, kailangan minor siya. Tulad po nabanggit nyo, pag age of majority, hindi na pwede na sumama o humabol yung parents niya. Pero, sabi niyo po, may exception doon. Kahit na nasa wastong gulang na, kung yung child is special, kahit na ano pa yung edad niya, pwedeng pumasok yung kanyang foreign parents para sumunod or kasama siya, no? Patungo ng Pilipinas.
Tama po, Congen.
Okay. So, importante po. So normally, dapat minor, but the only exception to this is kung special child. So, obviously, they have to show proof na special yung child, no?
Tama po, Congen. Pwede sila magpakita o magsumite sa embahada o konsulado na kung saan sila mag-apply ng visa ng medical certificate or anything o any record from physician or doctor o kung sino man na magpapatunay na itong ang bata o itong kung hindi naman bata ay siya ay tinuturing na special child kahit nasa hustong gulong na, kailangan pong ipakita yung mga dokumento na yun.
Okay. Sige. Thank you, DCG. Kung dual citizen, may isa pong tanong dito, no? Kung dual citizens kaming mag-asawa at balak naming isama ang aming sanggol, so sanggol pa lang ho, na ipinanganak dito sa Amerika, pag uwi namin sa Pilipinas, kailangan ba namin kumuha ng Philippine visa para sa kanya? Kailangan pa rin hubang kuhanan ng visa yung sanggol para makapasok sila kasama yung sanggol?
Okay, suriyan po natin, Congen, muna yung sitwasyon na yon. Sa case po na yon, kung dual citizens yung mag-asawa, posible na, hindi posible actually, we can consider yung child as a Filipino citizen. Ang importante, meron po siyang dokumento na magpapakita o magpapatunay na siya ay Filipino citizen. Kung halimbawa meron siyang report of birth o kaya kung sinama sa petition for dual citizenship yung bata ng isa sa magulang niya, pwede pong mabigyan ng passport yun at i-consider nga natin na Filipino national. Pero kung walang ganong mga dokumento at US passport lang ang hawak ng bata, then i-consider po siya ng ating immigration officials as a foreign citizen. So kakailanganin po niyang mag-apply ng visa.
Okay. Salamat po sa paglilinaw na yan, no? As you mentioned, kung dual yung parents, obviously Filipino sila, then the child obviously should also be a Filipino, no? But as you mentioned, it's not sufficient na Filipino siya for the child to be able to enter the Philippines. Kailangan may dokumento rin siya, pasaporte ng Pilipino, no? Ng Pilipinas. Pero kung hindi kinunan ng magulang ng Philippine passport yung bata at ginamit lang ng bata yung kanyang foreign passport, US passport for example, yun kailangan may stamp ng visa, no?
Tama po, Congen.
Okay. Sige. So kailangan nilang i-apply ng visa pa rin. I mean, obviously the parents should decide whether to fly the baby as a foreigner or they can also, before flying, apply for a Philippine passport. Obviously, but they have to comply with the requirements. No? Tulad ng report of birth po yata, no? Kailangan yung mga ganung proseso. At maging maisama nila either sa kanilang dual citizenship application, or kung pinanganak naman after they are already dual, kasi may dalawang kaso po rito, no? Either pinanganak yung bata before nag-dual citizen sila, before nag-revert back sila or nag-reacquire ng pagiging Pilipino, in which case obviously yung bata is a foreigner, no? Because at the time na pinanganak yung bata, foreigner pa yung kanilang magulang because they have been naturalized US citizen and they have not reacquired. But at the same time, yung bata naman na yun, tulad ng nabanggit ninyo, pag nag-reacquire na yung magulang, pwede nang nilang isama yung bata because minor siya or baby pa siya doon sa application nila for reacquiring Philippine citizenship. Tama po, no?
Tama po.
And in which case, then the child is considered to be also dual or also a Filipino. But at the same time, they have to make a report of birth po, no? Bago ma-issue ng Philippine passport. And sabi niyo po, kung nag-decide naman yung magulang na hindi nila isama sa pagiging dual or nag-decide sila na kahit na dual, hindi pa nila kinuha ng passport, then kung ang gagamitin nila yung US passport lang ng bata or Canadian passport ng bata, kailangan nilang kumuha ng visa.
Tama po, Congen.
Sige, DCG, let me jump to the next question. No? Kailangan ba ng kasama ng isang foreign citizen na may Philippine visa ang kanyang asawa o anak na Pilipino sa kanyang pagbiyahe para payagang makapasok sa Pilipinas? I suppose for our foreigner audience, maybe I should ask this in English. No? Is it necessary for the foreigner husband or spouse or wife holding a foreign passport to be traveling together with a Filipino spouse, or it's not necessary?
It's not necessary, sir, that the Filipino national spouse or child of a foreigner be with him during the travel, because the mere issuance of visa should be sufficient for purposes of being allowed to travel to the Philippines. Although we recognize the fact that entry is not guaranteed with the issuance of visa, because it's the Bureau of Immigration which is the final authority in terms of the entry of aliens to the Philippines.
Okay, but I suppose that is also subject to the rules that BID follows. No, it doesn't mean that even if they're the proper authority, they cannot that they have all the arbitrary authority to do whatever they want. Usually, they also follow rules, right, and guidelines, because we're a country of law. So in that sense, for as long as they fit into those admitted categories of foreign nationals, unless there is another information to contradict that, they should be able to enter, no?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So, and back to the original question, it's not only in one instance where they can enter the Philippines, which is accompanying, no? So they don't have to travel together. It's also possible, and they will also be allowed entry if the foreigner husband or spouse or wife who holds a foreign passport is flying to follow. So it means that the spouse is already in the Philippines, and so they're not traveling together, but he intended or wanted to follow the spouse who is now in the Philippines. Tama po ba?
Tama po yun, Congen.
Okay, but the foreign, but before flying into the Philippines, the foreigner spouse or foreign passport holder, a spouse, need to apply for the appropriate visa before a Philippine consulate. Tama po ba?
Tama po, Congen. Kailangan muna niyang mag-apply ng visa bago siya magbiyahe doon papunta sa Pilipinas.
And therefore, it doesn't matter whether he's an American passport holder or Canadian passport holder or visa, no? Sa madaling salita, even if they are in the past visa visa-free entry nationals like American passport holders or Canadian passport holders, they cannot just enter on the basis of their foreign passport. They also have to secure the appropriate visa for them to enter the Philippines, either accompanying a Filipino spouse or following a Filipino spouse. Tama, no?
Tama po, Congen.
Okay. So thank you on that, DCG. Nabalitaan po namin na simula ng Agosto 1, yung mga dayuhan na may hawak ng long-term visa ay pinapayagan ng pumasok ng Pilipinas. For our foreign listeners, for foreigners listening to us, that the question is, we heard that beginning August 1, foreigners or foreign passport holders can already enter the Philippines, and provided they hold long-term visas. No, is that true, DCG?
Well, that's correct, Conchen. But only those who are holders of long-term visas, such as the 13 series visas. I'm referring, of course, to immigrant visa holders. They're the ones who are allowed to enter the Philippines beginning August 1. Immigrant meaning 13A, B, C, D, E, and G.
Okay, so
Holders.
foreign passport holders who already have this status of resident status in the Philippines, existing, no, or immigrant visas that you mentioned, they can already enter the Philippines beginning August 1.
Yes, sir. But there will be no new visa issuances. That means those visas should have been issued prior to August 1.
So that means they are already in possession.
Yes, Conchen.
Okay. Bakit nalilimitahan ang pag-issue ng visa sa iilang kategorya lamang? At ano ang pwedeng gawin ng mga dayuhan na hindi kabilang sa mga exempted categories, ngunit sila ay mga lehitimo at importanteng dahilan na tumungo sa Pilipinas? I mean, I think let me translate for our foreign listeners. Why is this so? Why can't foreigners just enter the Philippines right now? And why some categories are allowed, some categories are not allowed? Would you know the reason for this, DCG?
Yes, Conchen, if we remember it correctly, in March of this year, the President issued a proclamation declaring the Philippines under a state of calamity and a state of public health emergency. And in those proclamations, the various agencies of government were enjoined to assist and cooperate in the overall efforts in addressing the issue concerning the COVID-19 pandemic. And as a result of that, the Department of Foreign Affairs issued this circular, FSC 29/2020, suspending the issuance of visas to foreign nationals. And I think the reason, of course, is we want to control the entry of foreign nationals into the country.
Okay, so this is really in response to the pandemic situation. So as such, only when those conditions exist are these restrictions put in place. So it's a measure addressed as a measure to in the context of the pandemic situation. So which means this is not necessarily permanent in nature, no? And this will be dependent on the condition of the pandemic, how it's going to develop in the future. Tama po ba?
Tama po, Conjen. So this is just temporary, although we don't know when is it going to be lifted.
Okay, thank you, DCG. But going back to how then for all those foreign passport holders who belong to those exempted categories, how can they enter the Philippines? What is the procedure for them to apply for visa, and what are the documents that they need to present? Especially some of the consulates are closed because of the pandemic. No, in the case, for example, of San Francisco, how can they apply for the appropriate visa to be able to enter the Philippines. Especially now, I believe that your consulate does not allow in-person applications. How do they go about this, DCG?
Thank you, Congen. The consulate has suspended the in-person consular services, including, of course, the passport, notarial services, etc. But in the case of those not requiring personal appearance of the applicants, like the case of visa, we still process applications for visa. But what our foreigner friends can do is to coordinate with us, to contact us through our emergency email and our hotline. Our emergency email is emergency.sfpcg@gmail.com, and our hotline number is 1-415-269-2090. So they can also email at visa@philippinesanfrancisco.org and submit to us the requirements along, of course, with a return envelope and the payment.
Okay, thank you, DCG. So which means what you have suspended in operation are those that are in person, meaning you don't want people to come to the consulate and apply personally. What they can do is mail their applications to the consulate. Tama po ba?
Tama po, Congen.
And you continue to process these applications, visa applications by mail, and you would like those applicants to correspond with you via email as well for instructions. Tama po ba?
Tama po, Congen. Or they can email us or also send us their application by mail.
Okay. Sige. Great. And I think with that siguro, DCG, we should be okay na, no? You've covered a lot of bases already, and hopefully you've exhausted the matter. Hopefully, if there are still questions and we see that if there's a necessity for us to address to have another episode on this, we will do that. No? Tama po, DCG, no?
Tama po, Congen.
Sige. Okay, on that siguro, DCG, we're very grateful for all the clarifications, no, on this issue of the visa. But as you pointed out at one point, the situation is kind of changing quite rapidly, you know, because well, in the first place, the pandemic by itself is creating a lot of uncertainties, and all of us are learning in the process. So as things change, you will have clarifications through this forum as things change and as there are developments on this issue of the visa and entry into the Philippines. Right, DCG?
That's correct, Congen. We'll ask clarifications from Manila on the new and also ask if there are new developments concerning the policies and guidelines that are being issued by the concerned authorities in Manila.
Sige. Thank you, DCG. We're very grateful for all the clarifications you've made. No? Maybe I just have one question lang, DCG, if you don't mind. Because this is a question that's asked by many also. How are things in Manila in terms of their entry once they have secured the visa, they have secured a flight into the Philippines? What is the expectation upon arrival? Has things changed or normalized in the Philippines already, or there are still some procedures or special procedures that they will have to follow upon arrival? Can you give us some idea on that, DCG?
Yes, Congen. During this time of pandemic, there are new arrival procedures that are being implemented at the airport, and our passengers, our foreign travelers, I mean our nationals, even the Filipinos, will have to expect new arrival procedures when they arrive in the Philippines. Because they have to undergo this 8-step procedure, including, of course, the registration, because the ECIF, or the electronic case investigation form, will have to be collected from them. So they'll have to register prior to departure with the Red Cross website, so they can put, or they can fill in the form electronically, because that form will be collected from them, or the information that they will put in there will be collected from them when they arrive at the airport. They also have to undergo COVID testing as well as quarantine procedures when they arrive in the Philippines. So these are among the steps that are included in the 8-step procedure that are being implemented at the airport. It's also important for them to pre-book their COVID testing provider and the quarantine facility provider. When they arrive in the Philippines, they have to go to the desks of government agencies assigned to assist arriving passengers go to their respective quarantine facilities. If they are OFWs, they have to go to the OWA desk. If they are overseas Filipinos, meaning non-OFWs, they have to go to the DOT desk. And if they are sea-based workers, or they are seafarers, they have to go to the desk that are being manned by the licensed manning agencies, so that they'll be informed there where or which hotel to go to, and which hotel they have to stay in while waiting for their COVID testing results.
So DCG, in effect, what you're saying is there are things that they have to do before flying. So while here, or before boarding the aircraft, there are things that they have to do, no? Like the pre-booking, those forms that they have to fill up, and so they have to go into the Red Cross website to fill up those forms. No? These are things that they have to do before, and upon arrival, there are things that they will have to go through, and after the airport, there are things that they also have to go through, like the quarantine. No? So ito po yung dapat nilang tandaan. So I understand, DCG, that there's a video on this, and maybe we can show that video once again for people to understand what are the expectations, requirements that they have to go through upon entering or before entering the Philippines po.
Welcome home, kabayan! Para sa inyong kalusugan at kapakanan, ang Pilipinas ay nagpapatupad ng 8 hakbang na kailangang sundin ng bawat pasahero. Step 1. Registration. Magrehistro online o i-scan ang QR code sa flat guide at sagutan ang e-case investigation form. I-upload rin ang picture ng bio page ng inyong passport. Siguraduhing kumpleto at makatotohanan ang lahat ng impormasyon, lalong-lalo na ang inyong pangalan, tirahan, email address at cellphone number. Mayroong registration help desk na maaaring tumulong sa inyo. Step 2. Confirmation email at QR code. Makakatanggap kayo ng confirmation at personal QR code sa email. I-print o i-save ang QR code sa inyong cellphone. Ang QR code at ang inyong pasaporte ay dapat dala-dala ninyo pagdating sa Pilipinas para sa prosesong dadaanan. Step 3. Briefing. Pagdating sa Pilipinas, makinig ng mabuti sa briefing sa airport para malaman ang mahalagang hakbang na pagdadaanan. Step 4. Verification at barcoding. Pagkatapos ng briefing, ipakita ang inyong passport at QR code sa verification counter. Magkakaroon din ng isang maiksing interview patungkol sa inyong records. Bibigyan kayo ng 6 na barcode stickers. Ingatan ang stickers. Idikit ang isa sa passport at ang natitirang 5 ay iaabot sa taong mangangasiwa ng swab testing. Step 5. Swab testing. Sa swabbing booth, ibigay ang barcode stickers sa magsasagawa ng swab test at ipakita ang barcode sticker na dinikit sa passport. Huwag mag-alala at hindi masakit ang swab test. Kailangan lang pong sundin ng maigi ang instructions sa swabbing booth. Step 6. Immigration. Pagkatapos ng swab test, dumiretso na sa immigration at sundin pa rin po ang normal na proseso. Ipakita sa immigration officer ang dinikit na barcode sticker sa passport. Step 7. Quarantine Facility Assignment. Para malaman ang inyong quarantine facility assignment, pumunta sa mga help desk. Kung ikaw ay isang OFW, magpunta sa help desk ng Overseas Workers Welfare Administration o OWA. Kung ikaw ay isang OFW na seafarer na mayroong Local Manning Agency o LMA, magtungo po kayo sa kaukulang help desk ng inyong LMA. Kung ikaw ay isang returning Filipino, ang help desk ng Department of Tourism ang makakatulong sa inyo. Ang mga help desk na ito ang magbibigay sa inyo ng itinakdang hotel o quarantine facility na inyong titirhan ng ilang araw habang hinihintay ang resulta ng swab test. Sila na rin po ang mangangasiwa ng inyong transportasyon. Step 8. Resulta. Ipapadala sa inyo ang resulta sa pamamagitan ng text message at email sa loob ng 72 hours. Kung negatibo ang resulta ng swab test, magpapadala ang gobyerno ng medical certificate bilang patunay nito. Ang lahat naman po ng pasyenteng positibo sa COVID-19 ay pangangalagaan hanggang sa paggaling. Mayroong 24-hour help desk sa lahat ng hotel at quarantine facilities. O tumawag lang po sa mga helpline para sa mga katanungan. Ang IATF, Philippine Red Cross at Department of Health ay malugod pong naglilingkod sa inyo. Maraming salamat sa inyong kooperasyon.
Okay, maraming salamat. That's a very good one, and hopefully that video DCG would be able to apprise our listeners of those requirements by our authorities upon entry, no? And it's good to know all of this step-by-step process. So okay, thank you DCG. Marami pong salamat for your clarifications. Any final thoughts, DCG, to our listeners?
Actually, I just would like to say to our listeners that they be safe and they should try to protect their health, especially this time of pandemic. That's all, CONGEN.
Maraming salamat, DCG, for those kind words of yours. And so we'd like to thank all our listeners, our guests for today. And just like what the DCG said, still continue to keep safe. We're not yet out of the woods. We continue to do our part in terms of mitigating the spread of this virus. And we can do that always by exercising those practical hygiene guidelines or measures that we have to embrace and be part of us already as a habit, because this really is a new normal. So marami pong salamat sa inyo, and we'll see you in our next week. So Pinoy ako, proud ako, mabuhay po kayo.
Maraming beses na kitang nilayasan, iniwanan at ibang pinuntahan. Parang babaeng ang hirap talagang malimutan. Ikaw lamang ang aking laging pinabalikan. Manila, I keep coming back to Manila. Simply
Our online celebration commemorates the 122nd anniversary of the proclamation of Philippine independence. I know, Dom, we are still in a pandemic and times are really tough right now, but that's not stopping us from celebrating our Filipino history, our culture, and our pride. And you know, tonight is the night to also honor the men and women who have really sacrificed so much amid the pandemic, our frontliners.
Hinahanap kita Manila, ang ingay mong kay sarap sa tenga, mga
Mabuhay!
naglilipa,
And all for a toast.
mga babae mong nagagandahan. Take me back in your arms, Manila, and promise me you'll never let go. Promise me you'll never let go. Manila, Manila, I keep coming back to Manila. Simply ain't no place like Manila. Manila, I'm coming home.
That was a phenomenal performance.
Good morning there in Manila.
Hi, Sir Henry. Kamusta po kayo? We are okay here, and we enjoyed the reception, and then we also want to congratulate you for your celebration of the 122nd Philippine Independence Day anniversary.
And promise me you'll never let go. Promise me you'll never.
Ryan Kayabyab and the Ryan Kayabyab Singers, thank you very much.
Now, to cap our program, we wish to leave you with a video prepared by the Philippine Consulate General in San Francisco to honor Filipino frontliners all over the world.
Mabuhay po kayo.
From the bottom of our hearts, thank you very much po, and have a good night or have a good morning. Thank you. Good night. Pinoy ako, proud ako.